Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by my friends at Calhoun's. You can follow them on Twitter. They're at Calhoun's. They got an active social media account. Tomorrow, like every Monday, is Burger Day at the following Calhoun's locations. That's Bearden Hill, the original location, Turkey on Pellissippi, Kingston Pike, Turkey Creek, Lenore City, Maryville, Oak Ridge. Burgers start at just $6. Dine in only now. The Taste of Tennessee Make Monday Burger Day at Calhoun's. All right. I want to welcome in the next member of our panel who has a new gimmick down there. He doesn't have the green visor during basketball season, but he's got a new C-Note cup down there.
The official C-Note coffee cup.
There we go. Yeah. Chuck Cavaleris, but only in English Mountain spring water to be drunk out of it, as far as the viewer at home knows. All right. Very good, Chuck. Thanks for being here. Vols are currently 11-6, 3-2 in the league. They should get to 4-2 in the league when they play Ole Miss, who's 0-4 coming up this week, you would think. They're keeping their heads above water considering what they've been through. We've already laid it out for folks. They lost like 67 points a game, 23 rebounds a game. When you take out Turner and the guys that are now with Alexander, you got 4 guys from last year's team that are in the NBA. But the schedule's about to get even uglier in January. A lot of people, including myself, have kind of said, okay, this is NIT at best, I think. We started the season saying bubble team with the Turner loss, NIT at best. That's my take. We writing this team off too soon, Chuck, or is that about right?
No, I think you may be writing them off too soon with all of the uncertainty that has been settled, like we've talked about with Turner. You're going to have him or not? No. So, but then, you've got Vescovi. How's that going to play out? And getting, like we've talked about with Uros. I mean, like we say, that's a big body, especially as you go into these next few weeks of schedule where you're going up against teams. See, I think you are. With all of that and how they play, I think you are writing them off too soon, but I think they are pretty much a bubble team.
But you're saying NCAA bubble team?
Yes.
Okay, see, I've dropped it to like an NIT bubble team. Gentlemen, am I writing them off too soon?
I think it's always dangerous to write off a team in mid-January. You could point to all kinds of like Conzo's last team in mid-January. That team didn't look like it was really going anywhere, and they ended up Sweet 16. But that team had some veterans, some very good veteran players, which this team doesn't have a lot of veteran players. So I don't think there's necessarily a parallel there. If you look at the roster, I'm with you. I don't see a huge surge for this team, but you never know.
You never know. I look at that schedule, and again, the SEC isn't as good, but you haven't faced any of the SEC big boys yet, and you're going to get a lot of them in February and March especially.
I'm always one. It's too early to write off. However, do I think it's going to be a challenge? Absolutely. One of the things that all those teams at the end of the year are going to be playing for something. But the thing I like about this Tennessee team and the culture that it's created is they're not necessarily losing any games that they shouldn't lose. Georgia on the road is a tough game. Georgia's a better team than their 0-2 SEC record at the time because of who they played.
You said it here last Sunday.
Yeah, and these next couple games, when you're playing the Ole Misses and you're playing the Mississippi States in your building, those are the games you got to get because the league has shown that Missouri can go to Florida and win, and then Florida kills an Auburn team. And so Tennessee's got that where they can win a couple that you don't think they're going to win, and they'll be there on the bubble if they don't lose to the SEC teams that they're supposed to be.
You could make a case considering what they've got on their roster and what they had at the time, where they had just lost Turner, they stole one at Missouri. I mean, you could make the case that
just about any road win other than Vanderbilt and SEC. But it doesn't help that the SEC is viewed as being down. So you're going to have fewer bids anyway, most likely. And then you're not going to be able to build up that within the conference very much.
And some of the teams you lost to that normally carry a big brand,
their
RPI isn't. I mean, look at Cincinnati. They've got some bad losses that hurt their RPI, which hurts your RPI. So,
one other thing, real thing. The coaching side of it, right? The X's and O's with the new guys like you mentioned, Euro, typically when you get to this part of the season, teams are who they are. They're running what they're running. They're playing the way that they're playing. With these new wrinkles, these new personnel, what are the coaches, what adjustments are they making? Can make it more challenging for the next team, the SEC teams, to be prepared. And if they develop, there's a chance that they can win some of these ball games.
I was speaking to somebody this week who's a knowledgeable basketball guy, Booster, who his take was, hey, Barnes is making the big bucks. The big programs don't have these kind of rebuilding years. That's not true.
Yes, they
Let me
do.
go ahead and give you a couple of examples here. It happens to the best of them.
Yep.
North Carolina, 8-9 this year. So if you're sitting there, oh, how can look? 11-6 is better than 8-9, I think. So North Carolina's taking a step back, but look, they were 20-17, just in 2009-10. That's 10 years ago. They were NCAA champs the year before. So they went from NCAA champs to not in the NCAA tournament. They've had 3 non-NCAA tournament years since 2000. That's North Carolina. Tennessee is not North Carolina. So it's a stretch to even compare yourself to North Carolina. Kentucky, 21-12 in 2012 and 13, NCAA champs the year before. Next year, NIT. They've had a couple of years here. It's just in John Calipari's reign where they haven't made the NCAA tournament. It happens. If you're Duke or Kansas, it doesn't happen. Everybody else in the country has these kind of rebuilding years. I'm not trying to take up for Rick Barnes. I think you could question this next slide. Take a look at this graphic. Can't believe I called it a slide like it's 1958. But the 2017 recruiting class, Eve Pons is still on the team. 2018, okay, you've got one guy out of those 2 classes. You're not allowed a rebuilding year at Tennessee, I think, is off the mark. These 2 years where you whiffed in recruiting pretty much, that's legit. So I'm not sitting here trying to be a Teflon shield for Rick Barnes at all. But the idea that you can't have a rebuilding, you're Tennessee, you're not Kansas. Yeah, you're going to have rebuilding years from time to time.
Well, how are you
But
not,
recruiting, that's an issue.
how are you not going to have some drop-off after a historical 31-win season and #1 ranking for like a month or whatever it was? You're not going to be able to maintain that.
Again, 67 points, 23 rebounds, 15 assists a game is what you've lost from last year.
I brought up the fact that Florida won back-to-back national championships
Exactly.
in 06 and 07. Next year, they didn't even make the tournament. So it happens. But you're right about these recruiting misses.
That's key, yeah.
Yeah,
Coaching take.
Darrington, Zach Kent. I think a lot of people were kind of questioning when he even signed those kids. Pons obviously turned out. DJ Burns is a guy that transferred, went closer to home. There were some reasons why he transferred. I don't think they necessarily wanted him to. From a talent standpoint, he's averaging about 12 points a game playing for Winthrop this year. And so, yes, there were some misses. They can have some different, you can have some lulls in your, but to the basketball guy who thinks he's a basketball guy because he's a booster, that's sometimes where you have problems. Just because you give money to a program, you don't necessarily know what you're talking about when it comes to
And
basketball.
thank goodness it's not OBJ at LSU.
No excuses, no dropbacks ever. That sounds like a booster. All right, when we come back, Tennessee is popping up in some top 25s. I was going to ask, is it too much love too soon? But everywhere I see, it's like, how come we're not in every top 25? So are they getting too much love or they're not getting enough? We'll discuss that coming back.
Hey, when you're away from home, catch us on Facebook Live, our YouTube channel, or on sportsource.tv.
Let's do it.
This is the Sports Source.